morning, everyone. It's an honor again to be here as the moderator and to be joined by the two prominent community activists that have been trailblazers in our community and have kept the hope up. It's been 30 years of celebrating Black excellence, and no better way than to talk to the man who has witnessed its origin, the fight to get here. So our first question for Dr. Ralph, if you wouldn't mind, is to ask, what has been your experiences over the past 30 years in celebrating Black excellence across the province?
I know from my experience and experience working with a lot of the nonprofits in the city of St. John and the province of New Brunswick. So we're talking 30 years of what has been happening with the Black history in New Brunswick. And what I find is we've been getting better and better as we move along in the last 10 years.
Okay, so it means that we're doing great. We're doing a great job. And I'm going to move to Naomi. Thank you so much, Dr. Rao. I'm going to start from your activism journey. Being a granddaughter of one of the biggest activists in St. John, what influenced your own decision to start this journey?
Recognizing that it's not just Black history, this is Canadian history, so why aren't we learning it? For me, it was so important, it was so ingrained in my everyday life, just walking down the street, encountering people who knew my grandfather, who knew my grandmother, who know my mother, having those conversations. So to me, if everyday people are having these conversations and sharing with me, why isn't it part of the school curriculum? So I did my own little, research and started asking those questions of why.
So were those whys answered when you started this conversation?
No, they didn't have an answer for me. So again, from that, it's just instead of waiting for someone else to give me an answer, I'm going to go and, I guess, make my own answer, you could say.
Okay. With that, I'm going to go back to Sarah Thomas. And in what way can we address the systemic gap in the Black community?
From our experience, I think that the Black people in our community and the province should get more involved with research and dedicate themselves to do that. We find it's a very tough struggle to get research people and find the information that we're looking for and zero in on that, get it found, and then get back to us. We have research people now, God love them, they work on projects for us, but they're people who don't do it full time. They're volunteer people, so we appreciate that. But what is needed, somebody should zero in on New Brunswick's Black history and stick to it as we ask for what about this, what about that. Get it done, get it back to us. And then we'll grow a lot faster than what we're doing now.
To continue with that answer that you gave us, Dr. Rao, what do you think is stopping the current generation from being involved? Because if they have to do research and they don't have those skills, that could be a hindrance or a barrier, right? Or they just don't have the place to go to actually offer that help that will be needed, or it's just not spoken about.
Oh, so the question again is, can we get people to commit to finding our history really? So we understand that it's costly to volunteer today, but there has to be people that our people have to get involved, whether it's the regular people from the city of St. John or whether it's newcomers. They have to commit themselves so that we can grow in our history.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to the daughter of the biggest activist that I've come to learn about in St. John history. What has been your peculiar difficulties in your career as like a community activist that is subjected to your identity uniquely?
So I feel for me, I'm fortunate that I guess more so that I'm so much an extrovert that I don't give people a chance to give me difficulties. I'm someone who just, I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to be there. I'm going to show up. The difficulties may be on your part, but I'm not going to allow them to hinder me. More so than that, I guess.
Okay. I guess we don't have to let anybody stop us from getting to know our history, understand our history, and be a part of it as we've made our time to be here today. So that's a good one. I'm going to go back to Sarah Thomas. Um, what would you like to see in the coming years in relation to celebration of Black history?
In the coming years or year, it's so rewarding to have the youth get involved. The youth are really our next generation, our next folks that are going to keep the history moving along. And commitments like this young lady is the beginning of something that I have seen, because we're involved with schools pretty near every month, because we're Black History Association, so we're forever going. But the first 3 months of the year, I am so surprised and so glad to see that the youth are standing up and coming forward. There used to be a time when we would go and talk to the youth in the school some 40 years ago. I know you think that's a long time, but 10 years goes by pretty quick today. And it used to be in our beginning as we would say, oh, no, not that stuff about history. But the reason was we never got out there and spread the news about what we have done as Black people, or what we have done working together with all the people in the community. So the schools now are really, really pushing us. Every time we turn around, they want to come and visit us. That is so great to hear and so good to hear. And the youth are now the promoters of making this happen, along with our organizations.
Thank you so much for that. We're going to keep encouraging the youth. So we have the youth here that's going to speak on the perspective of the youth. She's a community activist as well, trying to toe the lanes of this great builders we have here today. So it's important to have a perspective, come in and ask questions. And as we are having this conversation, please reflect on it. This should not be just a representation of only the Black race. It's a representation of conversation for all other race. So get involved. It's not a fight for just one race. It's a fight for freedom in the world entirely. It's up to all of us. So I'm going to go back to Ms. Naomi Drummond, Leslie, and I'm going to ask, she's currently working a full-time job, and surveys have shown that the workforce in St. John, New Brunswick has had a lot of underrepresentation in terms of the Black workforce. But then we're doing better. What do you think is that invisible barrier that is stopping people from hiring people from this distinct race?
Well, it also comes down to like that representation pieces. For me, myself, I don't get to see myself in a lot of those kind of spaces. Even coming back to finding a mentor, it was really important to me to connect with a mentor who was female and Black in a leadership position. And I found somebody in Ontario. So it's just having that representation piece goes a really long way. And then when you have the companies and the employers that are supportive, then it builds it up and it gets better. I'm very fortunate, like I left my manager's meeting to come here today. I do have a full-time job and I have things that I'm supposed to be doing, but recognizing that being part of that larger community with your employee support goes such a long way.
I'm going to take you back into history. When I was reading about Naomi and I found out she boycotted her whole class to ensure that she goes to find her own research to understand her history. But I think a part of why that was possible is because you found yourself in a community where there were strong Black voices around you. So, what would be for that youth that does not have that representation or community that pushes them to want to find out more about where they come from?
So just like myself, it's, I guess, if you're not gonna have that community there, then you start and you be your own community, you know, and then you find your like-minded people, you find your community who's going to build up with you and be there with you. So it might not be your immediate, but definitely finding your community, or I guess not just finding, creating it and then finding people who are going to join with you.
Okay. So the onus lies on us to create something and find out people that would move on with us. I'm gonna go back to Dr. Ralph. You have been in the system for forever. How has the experiences of Black people evolved over the years, in your perspective?
It depends on how much, I find it depends on how much Black people will get involved in their community. Whether they're involved with the New Brunswick Black History Society, Prude, or other places like the museums or like the Boys and Girls Club and all those different places that are here in the community. Go to those places. And, you know, that is where we build our relationships with different folks from different parts of the world, whether they're newcomers, whether they're St. Johners, whether they're New Brunswickers. Get involved has always been our thing. I'm a country boy, born, raised, and brought up in the country. And the people all got along with each other. And if they were name calling and all this crazy stuff, we nipped it in the bud, both sides. Whether it was white folks or Black folks, they had it corrected, and you didn't do that again. We learned that. But I also grew up with my brother and sisters who lived in the city. And they were used to doors being slammed in their face and being treated like animals instead of human beings. But what I found was we build a relationship and a friendship early in life in every community that we got involved with. We got involved with a community, whether it was in St. John or whether it was in Fredericton or whether it was in other parts of the province. And that is get involved, and we will overcome some of these things in a hurry. We got to get back to the old ways where white folks and Black folks correct the wrong and get along with it. Don't fight about it. Get along with it. Get it done and get it done right. So we are all human beings and we want to be treated that way.
Okay, I'm going to go back to you. Okay, Dr. Ralph. You were able to introduce the Golden Globes for young Black people in the community. It just goes on to say that we all can be activists in its rightful way of activism, but wherever we can find ourselves, we should actually contribute, right? How does that history team with you starting the Golden Globes competition or amateur for young Black people?
The Golden Glove was not just for Black people, but it was established for myself. I was interested in learning how to protect myself. Being a country boy, you knew how to fight and defend yourself in a certain way, but you had to learn the fundamentals of not getting yourself beat up every time you did this extra activity. So we wanted to learn the fundamentals of how do we defend ourselves. And we did that by going to a club. Well, in my time, there were people in King Street that ran a club every 2 days out of the week and things like that. And once there, it taught me, coming from the country, it taught me how to get along with other people, how to get along with people who were angry with the world or they were angry themselves. But when we got into that gym, we became one, and we looked after each other, whether it be outside the gym or inside the gym or while we're doing competition. But what we learned from the Golden Glove Amateur Boxing Club was partnership. because we found that the coaches would take us home. Whatever what we would find when we get to that home, we would wonder how does some of these students keep coming or be able to go to school and get their educations. They were tough, but that club, because of it, we made sure the athlete got home. We made sure the athlete wanted to come to the gym, we went and got him. We were fortunate that time because we had people that's willing to help us do that. So the gym is a blessing in that it is now still running after so many years. It's part of St. John, it's part of Quispamsis, it's part of Rossi, and then we go on out into the province. So one gym started in St. John. Now we have a total of 13 gymnasiums in the province of New Brunswick.
We need to put our resources together and keep this fire burning, because if they're teaching us, then the only thing we can do is to learn from them. They've left the door open. It's time for us to get in. I'm gonna go to Naomi. What advice would you give to a young Black woman that is looking at you in this room today and say, how can I represent my identity without feeling left out, without wanting to fit in into the status quo?
You just show up. You show up entirely as yourself. That's your table that you belong at. That's what it comes down to, is showing up. There's no ands or buts about it. You're there. You're part of it. You make them have you there. That's the best advice I can give, is that showing up piece.
What if you're not welcome there?
You're welcome everywhere because you showed up.
Okay, so show up, dress up like me, and show up. Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna go back to Dr. Ralph. You're the co-founder of the New Brunswick Black History Society. And currently, I know you're very much active there because we visit you a lot and we see the incredible work that you're putting in. Can you tell us some of the projects that the New Brunswick Black History Society is undertaking now and the impacts that you have seen from those projects?
Well, to be honest, the biggest kick-starting of Black history was because of Prude. Because of Prude, we were interested in our history. But the difference was we poked it with a stick. We would find out, let's use A.B. Walker as an example. A.B. Walker was the first Black lawyer in Canada. Imagine how big that is. Way back in the 1800s, he is the first Black lawyer. But nobody would work with him because of the color of his skin. That was started when I first got involved with Prude in depth. We poked with a stick. We found it. Yes, A.B. Walker came from the Kingston Peninsula, and that was it, and he was the first Black lawyer. But over the years, so many years later, we find out what really happened and how did he become a lawyer and how did he still stand up, had the time to stand up and fight for Black people's rights. That didn't happen until 10 years ago that we found all the history. Fast forward, we now have A.B. Walker as a member of the Order of New Brunswick. The highest order you can get in New Brunswick is the Order of New Brunswick. He is now has a headstone out in Thorn Avenue, for those who are familiar with East St. John. In Thorn Avenue, he has a headstone that talks about A.B. Walker. So, Prude started my big journey on Black history. What about Black history?
Prude started that conversation. So you should all be proud that you're part of history in the making. We're going to put all of you in our name, so you represent yourselves and your future generations here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sarah Thomas. We're going to go to Mrs. Naomi Drummond, Leslie. It's important that we talk about the next step for the future. What are some of the recommendations you can give for us to move forward in supporting Black history as Black people?
It's that support. It's those conversations. The support with going to Black-owned businesses, using Black plumbers, Black everything. And then, so having those conversations as well and sharing, it's so important. And coming back to what Ralph said about the research piece, there is so much Black history that we still are uncovering. Like you said, you started with A.B. Walker and you poked it with a stick, and it's that piece of continuing to research, continuing to question, just looking and finding out more information, because Black history is literally every single day that we're living, Black history is being made. So keep living and talking.
So recently, your grandfather's mural was posted in the North. How do you feel walking past that every day?
It's such like this swell inside of my heart, getting to basically make eye contact and be like, I'm on my way to my job in a leadership position, basically because of you. So it's that sense of pride in not just myself and my family, but also again, those conversations and that Canadian history is being shared, and it's not just in these rooms or private, it's up on a billboard or building, but it's there for all to see. And there's been times, again, back and forth driving past and just seeing people kind of slow down and take it in, and walking or driving, and just getting to see and know that the history is being shared beyond just those moments of conversation.
So we have Melody Ovukorika, that is a grade 12 student at St. Malachi's Memorial High School, originally from Nigeria. She's passionate about community building and inclusion. She uses her voice to inspire change by presenting a spoken word piece on Black history at the AP Seminar National Conference in Toronto, and winning the International Women's Day Essay Competition in New Brunswick. Melody serves on her grad class executive as Vice President of the Black Student Association. She has also participated in the Young Ambassadors Leadership Initiative, that's our proud youth program here at Prude Inc. So she's an alumni. You want to give a hand for that? The SHAD program and the Anglophone District Anti-Racism Initiative, working to create spaces where all students feel seen, valued, and celebrated. So I guess we have the right person here to champion this conversation. With a hand of applause, can we please welcome Miss Melody Ovukorika.
What is it between us? Oh.
Yeah!
You get between us,
That's
queen.
the literal meaning of giving the youth an opportunity, and that's so thoughtful and kind of you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Naomi Drummond. We're going to start with asking you a few questions. We're going to put you on the spotlight a bit. We're going to start with asking first, what does Black excellence mean to you as a youth?
Okay, so Black excellence, to me, it's not just about the destination, but the journey. Oftentimes when we say Black excellence, we often focus on the spotlight, the awards, the titles. That's great, but also the journey. Even on days when it feels quiet, when it feels heavy, on days when I'm reminded that I'm Black in school, on days where sometimes I just, days are just so nice, you're light, I feel confident, and then the next day I'm reminded in class that, oh, I'm Black. I'm reminded with racist jokes, with comments, but then it's rising above that. Just last week I had an experience in class, in my film class, and we were working on equipment, and a guy, he made a joke, he was like, what's the difference between the white equipment and the Black equipment? And I went through stages, when we have 5 stages of grief, I went through 5 stages of unbelief. At first, I questioned if I heard right, because I hadn't experienced this in class where everyone was. And, he made the joke, everyone was laughing, everyone was sitting on the joke, and I thought maybe I was the problem, So I was disbelieved, I was confused, and then I was angry. But then I reminded myself that people's actions, people's emotions, it doesn't justify, it shouldn't It shouldn't dictate how I act. It shouldn't dictate my emotional stability. You know, guess what? I'm black, and guess what? I'm proud. I'm black and I'm proud. And so reminders like that, it just makes me want to be more, want to show up more. Because guess what? If I have to show you that the color of my skin, it doesn't mean anything. We all bleed red blood. We all have blood, the same blood. So it doesn't mean anything when you say things like that, because am I supposed to fall at that insult? It's not an insult. I'm black. Yes, I'm black. So black excellence, it's just showing up on days like Mr. Naomi said, just showing up just on days when you're reminded that racism still exists. It's what am I going to do about that? So yeah.
Thank you so much. There's no way we can talk about Black history without acknowledging that Black racism is a real thing that is happening in our schools. Our students are facing it. As adults, we're facing it at the workplace. So this conversation cannot be stopped. And I'm proud that you've been able to bring up that conversation and you've been able to stand up for yourself, because it takes a lot of mental fortitude as a kid to be able to reply that I'm Black, and I'm proud of that. And we're so proud of you, Melody. Keep going. Keep going. The next question is going to be in evaluating the older generation or the current generation. Do you think we're doing a good job? And how can we support you if we're not in helping the youth find truth and find pride in their identity as Black youth?
So I came to St. John in 2023, and in school, it was just, I believe, just 3 Black people in my grade. So we had the Black Lives Matter society in New Brunswick, society in St. John, come to our school, and that was great, just having that support and seeing that. But then I think last year, I think they cut the funding, so that stopped. So Dr. Raf mentioned something about having, like, not just volunteering, but having a sustained access, having a sustained support. So that was a great support, but it wasn't sustained. So I would say having sustained access, having sustained opportunities. So when the funding got cut, my friends and I, we started our Black Student Association, because we know how it felt. So we know how it felt when we came earlier and we didn't have that support. So we wanted to inspire or build upon what had already started. And also for that, I would say that, oh, I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. You got this.
Yeah. Okay, I would say sustained access and also supported opportunity, because Black youth were creative. We're creative. We have the skills to do it, but then there might be opportunities, but then that support to continue that way. The first time the Black History Month was celebrated in my school was just last year, and from the opportunity we had from the Black Lives Matter society, it built upon that. So we had the creativity, we had the skills to actually do that, but then we needed the support of the Black Lives Matter society, and that birthed the celebration of Black History Month. So things like that would help.
Okay. You want to pass the microphone to Mrs. Lively? As she was speaking, I was just reflecting on your story. As young as she was, grade 7, had to boycott her class. And how do you feel saying that after how many years of starting that journey and seeing another youth that is facing similar obstacles, do you think there's hope?
So and that comes back to there not being that piece of Black history being shared. It almost makes us think that we're less than and we don't deserve that space. I will acknowledge that Jennifer Dow is a phenomenal research, And just this year, well, last year in November, there was a book launch called Beyond Borders. It was for Black history in New Brunswick, which is going to be part of the school curriculum, which is wild that, again, it was in 1997 that I boycotted my class. And here I am in 2026, and the book was just released. So it's making its way to classrooms, but it's not there yet. So it's those pieces of continuing to rally your friends, your community to ask and demand for those things within the schools. Again, I am not a teacher, but I'm in schools as much as teachers sharing my history because it's important. So my son actually is in middle school, and he's always like, are you coming to my school? Will you ask the teacher? And I said, no, if you want me at the school, you need to get together with your friends if they want me as well, and you need to approach the teachers and ask for it. And he did. He approached the teachers, he had a couple of students, so it's that piece of demanding what you want and getting it included. Beyond just the book that is being released and slowly, and there are a couple of books as well within the French curriculum, but again, it's exclusive to just the French curriculum, those first two books. And then, like I said, the Beyond Borders will be released slowly for, I think, grade 5 and 6 curriculum, but it's not here yet. So again, just keep demanding and, rally your troops and get what you need from it.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Dr. Thomas. You have invested a lot of your years into educating, advocating, and standing in the gap for the Black society. Hearing this from the student's perspective, she's directly in the classroom. You're not talking to people that are not in school. You're talking to someone that is actually experiencing that. How does that make you feel?
To hear the young lady that we have with us today stand up early in life, to hear what the young lady who stood up since she was able to make a difference, we must carry on. And we're learning today. I'm learning today. I had no idea that all these things are still frying in the background, but I'm so happy to hear that you stood up and you did some of the things that we all do. So what do we do now? Do we smack that person? Or do we, oh no, I don't want to do anything. Or you thought about it and you said, I'm Black and I'm proud, and I'm going to correct this by continue doing what a team, plus bringing the attention to other people so we can get on board and help you. So I'm very proud that this student stood up and did what she did, not through anger, but through it's got to be done. Thank you very much.
So we go to schools a lot, Prude Inc., and a lot of the mentors here go to schools a lot to educate and advocate. Do you think after we're gone, that's where the conversation ends? And what can we do to ensure that there's continuity of that sustenance? Because we can't just come in just in February, do all the education, do all the talking, and then when we leave, the reality hits the ground again. So what's that brick that we need to build?
Building off of what I said last time about like sustained access, coming to, okay, so, okay, building off of sustained access, coming to schools and giving presentation, it helps a lot. And I feel that also falls on the school's part too, because if it's only Black History Month that we get such education, and then the rest of the month we don't get anything, it's still off on the school. And I would say, so for my friends and I, for our Black Student Association, for this month, we're going to classrooms to just give PowerPoint presentations. So you could also be hearing from students too, going to classrooms, giving presentations, not just in February, in March, April, May, throughout the year.
Every day that you're black.
Yeah, and yeah,
To do that.
yeah.
Okay. We all have to understand that it's not only on our students, it's on us as parents, it's on us as educators, it's on us as the adult population to help these kids through it. I'm going to go back to you because there's a burden of representation on the children. And do you think, as a black kid in your school, being the only three black kids, do you think that put a lot of pressure on you to act a certain way so you do not fit into the typical stereotype of what black kids are? Oh, they're violent, they're sensitive, they're that. Do you think that burden was on you as a young black youth?
Half and half, just because I moved from Nigeria and everyone was black there. So so coming here, it was a new experience. Um, so how do I say this? So I believe that me, like personally, I didn't feel the burden that much because on the things I do, I thrive to be excellent at them. So it wasn't much of a burden on me. But when we needed to see representations in the school, then it came to play that we asked help from outside societies like the Black Lives Matter, Prude Inc. We get help from them, but at the same time, it falls on us to carry on where they stop. So and I'll just give an example. One of my closest friends, she ran for the diversity representative for the students council, and just seeing that she didn't win, she lost by a few votes, but then just going out there, putting herself out there in the front of the whole school and running for that, it's just showing them that we're here, we mean business, you know?
Yes.
You're here, you made business. So we need to take it up. We need to just go in and get it done and not wait for it to be done for us. Do you think that there's a focus on the worst part of our history rather than projecting the positive aspects? Like we talked about the ice lady, we talked about William Reed, and you know that he even had a deficiency in his eye. He was playing all over, but then he was 95% blind in his eye, and he couldn't even stay that out because then he would be cast out. But then he played, and that didn't stop him. But we don't project that aspect of our history. Do you think that that's part of slavery is what is stopped more rather than the great people, the great innovators, the great community builders that we have here that's projected in your schools? What's the authenticity of the history that you're given in school?
Yeah, so I do believe that we focus more on the slavery aspects and the Underground Railroad and things like that. That is true. But then we also need to talk about, I call them like success stories. The first black person in St. John to do this, the first black person to do that. Just building off on successes rather than the slavery. Like we know the slavery is there, but what came out of that slavery? Slavery didn't just birth violence, it birthed success, it paved the way for us right now to be here to advocate for things like this. So yeah.
I'm gonna go to Sarah Thomas. When you go to the schools to do the bus tours, what are some of the questions that this kid asks you that changes you to wake up the next morning and feel like I need to keep going?
Mostly the students don't ask the question. I know that thing. But what happens when we go to the schools is that we pick them up usually in a bus and go on tour of some of the history of the city of St. John and other places, like Granby, Westfield, Willard Grove, the close places when we go by the buses. And the biggest thing that we want to let people know is that we go to these schools. We've been doing this now for the last 5 years, And it's so busy. They want to come. The teachers want to come. So how does the teachers learn with the students? They come on their time off, a busload of 30 teachers at a time, sometimes 40. And when they are on their break, they will come to the center at Brunswick Square, and they will learn the same as what the students will see when the classes go in. We pick them up. You know that you were involved, Prude is involved, and the Black History Society is involved in taking the students to those areas so they can learn about the history. Prude Incorporated is more qualified to get involved with situations like this young lady had when they start talking about racist items. The Black History Society will show you where we really came from. Newcomers came to these parts from the ground level, from scratch level, and went through some of those things that you're talking about that's still here. That means we still got a job to do. So Prude talks about the racism and discriminations and how we get rid of it. And the Black History Society shows you the ground level. Yes, we all had struggles, and here's the struggle that the black folks had. Please visit, because I know you will be excited to see how far our people have grown and come.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm going to give you the floor to ask these two incredible speakers that you're leading in their startups, because this conversation started with them, and I'm happy that you're here to let them understand that there's work to still be done, and we're not relenting, nobody's stopping, we'll keep going. So I see ourselves in them a lot, and we're picking a lot of ideas. What's that one question you would like to ask them, or recommendation, anything? It's your floor.
Okay, I'll start with you.
Okay.
So, oh yeah. Okay, so starting the boycott at your school, I'd just like to know, like, what was like the response of it?
I have to share the microphone. So my own personal friends were Caucasian, and they were kind of curious as to what I was doing and why, everyone get out your social studies books, and I would pack up and off I would go, to the library somewhere else. So my classmates were just kind of curious and being like, well, what is she doing? Why does she get to leave? And then it's on the teacher to explain, well, Naomi wants to learn Black history, so she's going to learn it. So it's the curiosity piece from my classmates. Unfortunately, no one joined me, but I hopefully got their wheels ticking and moving and realizing that there's such a rich history right here in St. John that maybe they'll start asking questions, and maybe the curiosity wheel will continue turning, and maybe it won't fully click until they're much older and have kids and they're like, oh wait, I remember when we were in school and there was a student, asking for this. So it's just hopefully having those conversations start from, like Ralph said, like from that scratch level, from the base, and to keep going, and curiosity hopefully would go a long way.
Thank you. And we'll go to Dr. Ralph Thomas. She's going to ask a question.
She's going to ask me the
Yeah.
Okay. So, being in the business of Black history a long time, what would you say has changed, like evolved positively, like throughout your experience?
The change has come to the point where everybody in this community and big time across the province, they want to know about Black history. And once they find out about Black history, it all of a sudden, slowly, we're saying this all of a sudden, things are slow with us, but we call it all of a sudden. took so long to make change. But the white folks and the black folks now want to know about black history. So when we speak about it, it's our history. But it's like you say, thank you for telling us what's still going on today, and that how strong you are by standing up and saying, well, this has got to be corrected, so I'm still black and I'm proud, and I'm still going to move forward. So that is helping us to now realize what we are all doing is working. We don't need discrimination in this community. And we can take care of those who are trying to bring a little bit of it back. Because if we don't, then we're in a serious world of hurt. And it takes our youth to change things. And it takes our family members to change things and support the youth. So I'm really happy that I came today to hear your side of the story, because that's how we're all going to move forward. Some of us specialize in certain things. And then we all support each other because it's for the good of the black people today and tomorrow.
Okay. We're going to have the last round of questions for our three distinguished guests. I have a famous quote by Dr. Martin Luther King, and he highlighted that in the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies by the silence of our friends. So, what advice would you give to a very diverse room here in ways that it can support the black community? Anyone can start first?
I'll go.
Okay, thank you.
Again, it comes down to having those conversations. It's starting at the base. It's talking to your neighbor. It's learning those rich histories that are literally right beside you. It's conversation is where it comes. You know, that conversation within the community.
Okay. Okay, you can go.
Oh, yes, she's right. Conversation is the time for change. We got to talk immediately when things happen, and we got to fix it. Don't poke it with the stick. We got to make it happen and get it corrected in a hurry so it doesn't go back. The world's getting tougher and tougher. It's a challenge out there, but we've got to learn to get along in our own community so that we can go forward together without being angry at one another, without being mad at something, you know, and then taking it to work or taking it to school. Let's get our positive thinking working.
Okay. Building off of what they said, yeah, conversations are needed to be had. And I'll also say that just remembering that when we look at the past, at the history, and then we have to, how do I say this? We have to be rooted in history in order to move forward. Because if we move forward without history, we just lose that honor. And then if we only stay stuck in history, we just become stagnant. So just being rooted in history and also using that to move forward gradually. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Any final words from any of you? Okay. I think today has been very educative. It has been very insightful. And we just want to thank you all so much for making time out of your busy schedules to be here and to educate us and to have the most challenging conversations that we don't get to have on an everyday basis. So thank you all for coming.